Hey, what's up, boys? Um, Welcome back. I need to. Alright, welcome back, boys. We're doing another one of these. It's because it's been a while since I have. Um, I wanted to talk a little bit about Stream is Serious, but oh my god, 4 people, 30 seconds, and that's actually crazy. What the hell? Thank you for that. That's actually interesting. 0 yen equals $0. Is that like a serious realization? Alright, but cat. Okay, cat. Here. You come up here. Cat stream. So, I know, dude, stuff is crazy. But I wanted to I wanted to talk about the webcam's fake. It is. You're right. Ow. This cat is scratching me up. You're mean. I wanted to talk about mainly motivation. Could this cat stop? Wacky cat. But I wanted to talk about that mainly. Because I was just thinking for a bit. I was thinking, wow, you're going crazy. Okay, I just wanted to. I've had it on my mind a lot, and hey, what's up? I'm actually gonna make you mod. What is up? I should make you mod. Alright. What the hell? 6 people? That's bizarre. Yeah. I was thinking, cat, could you not do this now? Literally, I'm telling you, every time I stream, this cat opens her mouth. But it's just been something I've been thinking about a lot. Because, I'm sort of coming to realizations with myself. Cat does go meow. Oh my god, Jesus. Okay, this is a very interesting start. I was thinking, just a lot of things that's happened with myself and just recent things. Cause just recently, like the past day or two, I've sort of made a goal for myself, and I'm like, okay, I kind of want to make a proper song by Christmas. Is really my sort of deadline I've made for myself. If not the New Year's, I mean, sort of the same time. What's up? And I was sort of thinking, because I've had these. This sort of goes with that, but for a while I've had. What was it? Because I haven't done progress on it in like 3 months. I've mentioned it before. I was sort of writing a book. And I haven't made any progress on that in like 3 months. So I need to, like, it was late August. It was like the 31st of August or something like that. So I really need to get on that, but that's a different topic. And I just had it in my head. Oh yeah, especially when it comes to music in general. This is where I was sort of going with the song. Particularly when it comes to what is the frick? Especially specifically when it comes to, is it the camera or what? Because I did get that set up, so that's cool. Although it's not my camera, it's just my phone, because the camera doesn't feel like working when it comes to this. And, especially when I swear I'm hearing stuff. It's bothering me. And, like, specifically when it comes to the singing part of it, I've had these weird bouts of doubt, I guess. And there's a thing I sort of come to. I saw it in I saw it in some sort of thing about art, I think it was, and I'm like, oh, this kind of applies to everything. And it's sort of something I've leaned on ever since I found it. And it's very helpful. So I found this thing, and it was like, it said, when you think you're getting bad, you've really just hit a bump. And I swear I'm hearing stuff that's annoying. And really what it was is showing a graph, and it would go up, and then there would be this little flat line of where you don't improve, but then, eventually when you do it enough, it goes up, and then it flatlines again, and it goes up. And I saw that, I was like, whoa, that's actually really cool. So every time I've done something like that, or especially for example, because a lot of bass is what I'm into. So like, for example, one day I hit super low, and then another day I'm higher up, and I'm like, oh damn, I'm bad at this. Especially specifically when it comes to that, what I can say is, especially when it comes to bass in particular, because it's very low, whatever, your voice isn't gonna be consistent with those super like the super tail end of your range. It's not gonna be consistent. You're not gonna be able to hit that every day or every other day. It's because on a good day I can go lower than a typical day. You know what I mean? It's like that sort of deal. And I feel like it's something everybody goes through, thinking about that. Bruh, let me see. I'm thinking Gmod. I don't have that. Cat. Oh, kitty. Yeah, Gmod, I don't know. That's not really a game I enjoy too much, but, thinking about the main thing, it's like, I feel like that's something that everybody sort of deals with, and I wish my light was better, because this is like it's literally everywhere but me. You know what I mean? And I feel like everybody sort of struggles with that, where they're I swear I'm hearing stuff, where they're at this sort of point, and they really, I'm sorry if I'm like repeating myself. I swear I'm like, my mind is fogged up right now, because I swear I'm hearing stuff. And so I feel like everybody just improves, and then they'll be super confident. It's sort of like a loophole I've discovered. It's like, you'll feel super confident in this, and then you'll sort of hit this place where you don't feel like you're improving, and then you'll just hit a sort of wall, or if not that, it'll start sort of going down. Your motivation will, and you'll feel like, there's been several times where I felt like I should just give up on the whole music thing, and whatnot. And what it is what is it that keeps me going? I'm trying to think here. Typically I have a realization, or sort of a epiphany of sorts. Look at this cat. But yeah, I sort of had this like realization, and I'm like, well, I mean, it's really just as simple as, I'm not as good as I want to be right now, but if I keep going at it, I'll be at that point. Because this goes especially for things like artistic things, like art, painting, drawing, music, this and that. It goes especially for those types of things. Comparing yourself to other people, especially professionals, is always very, I don't know how to go about it other than unhealthy. Because let's say for example I compare myself to my singing voice to some super popular mega artist. Like, I really don't have an example off the top of my head that everyone would know, but let's just say I'm doing that, for example, and I'm listening to their songs, and I'm comparing everything I'm doing to them. And when it comes to in this specific case, in this specific genre of thing, music, um, they're gonna someone who is listening to a recorded song. This is sort of a tip I heard just for specifically music, but listening to the recorded song, they have infinite retakes, infinite this, and so I saw this on a video. He said, "Don't compare yourself if you're gonna compare yourself more to the live versions of a certain artist. Although you shouldn't still compare it a lot. You shouldn't be, because even those famous, really talented artists aren't gonna have that same consistency when they're live." And it was sort of something I'm like, oh, that kind of makes sense, because I think everyone in music has sort of gone through that sort of point where they compare themselves to a recording and they're like, wow, I can't sound perfect every time. I know that's not the exact thought process, but it's basically what you're saying. And I mean, that's just my gig. That's just my gig. Why mental health stream? I mean, it's really just my thing. I do a lot of these, although I haven't done one recently. But I'm trying to think. That sort of deal, and I'm trying to think here. There will always be those people. I want to say this because it's just sort of on my mind. There will always be those people, particularly when you've had problems with them, that will take literally anything and everything you do, no matter how good of quality it is, no matter this and that, no matter what it is, they will take it, and just because they have a problem with you personally, they will try to tear it down and make you feel bad about it or give up on the idea and that sort of deal. And a lot of times people say to that, it's ignore it or something of that line, which you can't really just do that. It's much harder to just ignore it than it might seem. I've dealt with that a lot and seen it a lot, and people will go after literally anything. I'm trying to think of an example here. Anything and everything. They'll take things even from way in your past. It'll be I remember this guy said he took this was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. It was Fortnite, a game I haven't played in months, mind you. The last time I legitimately played it and had fun was probably over a year ago. And this was probably July that this happened. This guy said he used my skill in Fortnite. He said something about, remember when you were so good and now you can't get a single kill. I'm like, people, that type of stuff. And the thing, I could care less for that. That's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever been told. But really, it's not everybody's gonna have that same reaction, and that's what you've got to be open to in a situation like this. You gotta, for example, if I was someone else, I might take it in a really, really bad way, and it might completely, it could completely destroy my self-confidence in some regard, or, it could make me upset, it could do a lot. And, I personally didn't have that reaction. I literally saw that message and laughed at it, physically laughed at it, out loud. It was so just pathetic. But, the thing is, not everyone's going to react the same, and on top of that, for example, again, if someone was upset over that, or something of the sort, those people who said the thing in the first place, or if not, other people looking into the situation might look at how you got upset over some dude making fun of your skill at a memed game, the game's memed to hell. They might look at that and be like, wow, you're pathetic for being upset at this and this and that. And it's really sad to look at because it's, you know, it's, some people are just simply more sensitive than others, and sensitive isn't a bad adjective at all for somebody. Like, I mean, there's definitely a point where it might be, like, questionable, like if it's something clearly not negative in any way and they get upset about it. Like, I really can't come up with much of an example, but you sort of know what I'm getting at. Like, if someone just states, for example, their opinion, and that makes you upset or cry, and it's not like for example, they just say, I personally don't like this food, and they say it just a completely fine way, then, then it's kind of more questionable. But it's always, that doesn't make the person, I just want to clarify this, it doesn't make the person, no matter what it is, any circumstance, if someone gets upset about something, no matter how not negative it is or even positive, it doesn't really matter. I never see it as being pathetic or sad or whatever, because it really isn't. I mean, there's obviously exceptions. There's an exception to everything. Like, for example, if someone is doing said things and then they get called out and they start wanting to be whiny, whatever, after doing all those things to other people, then that's when it's kind of pathetic. That's what, like, taking accountability is one thing, but, doing bad things, like, if you're gonna react that way, you should at the very least genuinely apologize before, like, and especially when it comes to playing the victim, that's a huge yikes. That is a huge yikes. When you're playing the victim and, like, crying over typically nothing. I mean, it's happened with me. That's when it's really, really just more sad. But what I would do is, in a situation where it's an actual decent human being, and it doesn't matter what they're being upset of, because especially when it comes to, like, I know there's a whole big meme about what is it? People being super sensitive to, like, racism or whatever, and they'll be like snowflakes or this and that. And I really, I mean, obviously after an extent, it's kind of like more unreasonable from their side, but I can, I feel like it can definitely be seen why they react the way they do. It's like, they're just more sensitive to it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sensitive isn't a bad description, the way I use it. Some people do use it in a bad way, but generally sensitive isn't a bad term, at least from what I use it. And this is the point I'm sort of getting at, is I feel like what everybody should do when these sorts of things happen is you talk to the person and you try to understand why said thing or said topic or whatever it was that made them upset or react a certain way. The best thing I feel is to ask them why or what makes them feel that way, because I mean, hell, sometimes bringing up something positive, even no matter how positive it may be, depending on who it is, they could have gone through some experience that makes said topic a reminder of something or traumatic, and it could upset them. Like, that's an example. It'll be far from every case of said thing, but that's just sort of an example of where I'm coming from. What's up? What happened? But yeah, I mean, people are so dumb sometimes. I really don't understand why people are so quick to judge specifically. Like, there's been examples where I do the same. Obviously, like, everybody will at some point do something like this, where someone will get upset over something, and you'll look at them and say, wow, that's a stupid reaction, or they're overreacting, or whatever. I feel like we're all guilty of that at some point or another. especially after these last few months, I've seen it's opened my eyes a lot more to this type of stuff. Especially after, because something I do a lot is I talk to people who are struggling with things, and I sort of get to know, I sort of try to give them the advice, whatever I can do. And I've been in a lot of examples where there's people that are hypersensitive and hyper emotional, and they'll cry over smaller things, especially in a public area, and then they'll get judged or laughed at, and all this stuff, and it's not good. And when stuff like that goes on, it just makes it worse. Like, it really does. Like, especially when you're mocking people. Yeah, I'm trying to think here. Yeah, there's always a way to... that was sort of a different topic about, judging and whatever, but... something I want to say is I think no matter where you are, anything like that, I feel like no matter what kind of rut you're in, where you are mentally, physically, anything, there's always a way to pick yourself up out of the rut and, make a recovery and be, whatever you see yourself as. Like, for example, I don't know how to really phrase this, but I have been in a very tricky situation with school and missing a lot of classes and work and whatnot, and it's so much, and it's not just because I don't feel like going or this and that, it's a lot of things, and then it changes because of, how drastic it's been, and, that type of stuff. And it's always so difficult to figure out what to do, and, when you do nothing, nothing's gonna change, and that's how it is really about everything. That doesn't go for, just school, just that. And just recently, the past week or so, I've picked up on it. I've emailed all my teachers. I'm trying to get work sorted out, make a list of what I need to do, and then take some time and focus on one thing at a time and get it done. And, it reminds me of a situation I was in earlier this year, because, and this is something that really, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a weird tangent here, but this is something that really doesn't make much sense to me, is people not understanding how, what's going on with your feelings and your thoughts and your, general mental whatever. How people just cannot understand to any extent how that can affect your ability to want to do things and actually do things physically, like, going outside and that type of stuff. It's something I really struggle to put my finger on, understanding why people can be so ignorant to that subject sometimes, because especially I've dealt with a couple people that claim to have been through so much, and yet they can't understand, the basic, because, when you're in that situation, you'd kind of know how it feels. So when you're talking to somebody else who's been through that, and then sort of dismissing it as them being lazy, or I don't know what else, like gross, or like that type of stuff, it's one of the most ignorant, just dumbest things I've ever seen. Like, I've seen it directly, because like I was gonna talk about this before, earlier this year, like I'd say late March or April to like July is like very difficult to do much, because I was so stressed. So just, it wasn't really depression entirely, but it was just mainly stress. It was always scared, like to the point of shaking sometimes because of various things. mainly involving, the people I was around, not physically, but friends. Um, Although it really wasn't any of my friends, it was more so one person, and just constant stress because of everything, and then that obviously makes it to where, what is it? That makes it to where it's difficult to think. It makes it difficult to really be able to do much because you're so stressed, and you're stuck in such a big rut. It's so hard to do almost anything. And after that, I sort of moved on from all those people and everything like that. I start going outside more. I start just generally being a better quality person. And or I talked to one of those people later on, and he said, because this involved one person. I mean, those of you who've been around for a while can probably guess what I'm sort of generally talking about. But he said, while this person was busy, or while this person was doing whatever, you could, you could have done other things. And it's like, yeah, I could have at any time. But the thing was, the thing is, when you're in a situation like that, you aren't thinking like that. You aren't thinking clearly. You know what I'm saying? I don't really know how to describe it exactly. Because, when I'm so scared that I'm going to miss a text or call from, a specific person, and then not know the next time I'm going to be able to have any contact with them whatsoever, it kind of takes a toll on you. It really, really does. And so, it's kind of a bit more difficult than they're busy, so you can do it. It's really just unreal how that mindset, it's so ridiculous. And I remember I even mentioned, I was like, yeah, I started doing this stuff after I got away from you all. And then he's like, yo, you live like an hour away. I was like, literally, I face palmed in real life. I kid you not. It's some of the dumbest stuff I've ever heard. And it's like, I sort of gave him the whole spiel. It was some of the dumbest stuff ever, but that's besides the point. Ooh, I dropped something. Very cool. But, main point. Motivation. Keeping going. The thing was, way back July, when I started being more, just like a productive person, really. At that point, I didn't get stuck dwelling on, the past, which, yeah, it's very difficult not to. It's so difficult not to, especially, even myself, it's very, very difficult not to. You've seen it in my streams a lot, especially these types of streams where I can often ramble about, this group of people for a long time, and, it kind of just shows how it, it still affects to this day. It's quite unreal, but, I had something I wanted to say, I just don't know how to phrase it. Things like that go on. You gotta get set on looking forward rather than behind yourself, or thinking constantly day in day out about your mistakes, which I know it's not something you just can't, but it's what I mean by that is to start making that effort to see how exactly you can prevent yourself from doing that. And this is something I want to say is you should always look at your mistakes, because it's very healthy too, because you'll always be looking at what you did wrong and how you can improve it. Doing things wrong, everybody does, and I think this is a mindset a lot of people have. I don't entirely know. I don't want to be that type of person who says, yeah, everybody thinks this way because I think it. And, I hate that type of thinking where it's like, yes, this person feels this way because I can see it, or I have experienced this before. I hate that stuff. That stuff just, it makes me mad. that way of thinking is just stupid. It's when I suggest how somebody's feeling, or suggest how someone is thinking and how it might be influencing what they're doing. It's nothing more than just that. It's nothing more than a suggestion, because at the end of the day, I'm not in their brain, so I don't know. And there's a lot of people that really just think they just know, which, I mean, it's not the wrong idea, but you should never be so set that somebody is feeling a certain way, especially after they tell you it's not how they're thinking, which, obviously there will be cases where someone's in denial, or, this or that. But, when someone says no, and then you say, yes, you are feeling this way, it's one of my biggest pet peeves. It makes me so mad. But, looking at those mistakes you've done, because everybody makes mistakes, and like I was getting on, there's a mindset that I think a lot of people have. I don't know. It's something I have a problem with personally sometimes. Though I think other people might just have the same mindset and then handle it worse. Because there's always a fear I have when someone points out something I've done wrong, or someone close to me has done wrong, and it's not that I can accept the mistake perfectly fine, but it's always the fear that, the person pointing it out, or the group of people, or whoever it may be, is saying that I myself, or said person who did the mistake, is like a bad person for doing it. And so, it kind of leads to being defensive when you're doing that. It kind of looks like you're trying to make it look reasonable, which in some cases it's something very not good to do. And it could look like you're defending something bad. You know what I'm getting at. So, I feel like that's something a lot of people might struggle with when it comes to that, because I know it is something I personally do, although typically I'm more quiet about it, or I'll just, need reassurance that the person doesn't think whoever did said thing is a bad person, just that sort of deal. And I just want to restate this. It's like, doing mistakes, it doesn't make you a bad person, which is why I just went on that ramble. Everybody will, and that's why I said you should always look at your past mistakes, but just, look for however you can to not dwell on them, and let them just completely override your thoughts and, haunt you and that type of thing, because I know that's something a lot of people may struggle with, myself included. You do something wrong and you get so caught up on it, it can sometimes interfere with your daily life, or what you're doing, because you just can't think about almost anything else sometimes, depending on how you're feeling at that moment. And so this is something I did a whole stream about this. You could go back and look at it, but end of the day, I just want to wrap up this little bit. You will make mistakes. I will. It reminds me of just so much stuff where I was being accused of this and that, and I had to bring out half of the stuff about myself because they couldn't even point out the right stuff, and anything that was actually correct, they exaggerated to an unreasonable level. It was some of the most bizarre stuff I've ever witnessed, and, it's always good to point out your own mistakes especially, but as well as, people close to you, like, for example, if you're in a relationship with someone and they do something wrong to somebody else, I don't think you should always be there for the person, but you should, let them know they messed up, but it shouldn't be in some way that's like in their face, just completely, that type of way. It's I always see that as unhealthy, unless it's a completely habitual thing and happens all the time, and you try and nothing changes, then that's when I think you should get like that. Because, clearly doing it the other way is just not going to work. But, this just goes for anything in general. You should never just jump and just be, unless it's something completely severe, you should never just jump on someone's case and just scream at the top of your lungs at them. That's a terrible way to go about it, and that will just develop issues. But yeah, it's really just so important to look at. And let me finish what I was explaining. Like, you're in a situation with a partner of yours, and they do something wrong to somebody else. You shouldn't be saying, "Oh, it's 100% okay," because it's you that did it, and you're special to me, so that makes it okay. And no, you should always be there for the person, but you should always let them know when they're wrong, because if you're staying with them on everything and that type of deal, it's really just gonna encourage bad behaviors. And there will always be those people who just have their just be so far in denial, and no matter what you do, they'll have just have their head up their own ass, and that type of stuff, like just so far up, like you can't get anything out of them. And you'll try to talk to them about something, they'll get mad at you or guilt trip you or just that type of stuff. And I was in a situation like that. Try, and every time it's fight or that type of stuff, it's horrible. And and that doesn't just go for partners, it goes for your family, your friends, anybody. And that's what I did, and that's how all my dumb drama started, because somebody did something wrong and didn't want to own up to it when I confronted them about it. So yeah, that's a whole nother subject again. I did a whole stream about that a while back, about accepting mistakes. So that's there for anybody who wants that. Yeah, it's just back to the main motivation deal. It's like, when you're at something that's, I just want to mention this, something that's always good for staying motivated and keeping going and that type of stuff is always to have somebody, like, for example, and this could be somebody you talk to about your problem of being not motivated, or you tell about what you're doing that you're motivated about, that you lose motivation in, is having somebody just there to be able to say something. So I remember with involving my school, I just recently I did a good bit of work for one class, and then I was like, hey, I did this, and then it's just something as simple as good work. I updated your grade. It was something that simple, and completely just made me feel extremely motivated and extremely happy to keep going forward, because it's not like some tone of, wow, how you did this, you did all this stuff, but look at what you did this one time. It's not like that sort of tone, where it would be sort of a mixed bag. It'd kind of be like a slap in the face, but a compliment at the same time. It was just straight, good job, you did it, that type of stuff. Oh yeah, that makes sense. I remember, this is a little sidetrack here, but I remember back when we were playing Minecraft, there was, I was playing this, like, slowed down, version of one of Minecraft soundtracks, and it was just with the commentary and gameplay, and I remember the chat was going off, too. Like, it was, like, there were, like, 8 people, and I remember that. And I remember you mentioned that exact thing. You're like, this is, like, the most zen experience ever. It was like, it was crazy. It was one of the best experiences streaming ever. Like, it was just so pure. I really have no other point to it. But back to my main point. I think the peak was like 13, but back to the point. And this is something I want to say, you should be that person. Like I said when I got that email, something just, and I just want to say this for the purpose of perspective. Something as simple as, he literally said, good job, I think it was. That was all he said, and it just completely was like, whoa. Just something as simple as that can completely get you going. So a lot of people have the right way to do it, but or the right, like, idea about this type of stuff. Like, someone will come to you, for example, and they'll say, oh, this thing that I have an interest in, I'm not feeling like I'm good at it. And I think a lot of times people would just leave these long paragraphs, and it's not the it definitely can work, but I think it's really just how they say what they say that kind of makes it less effective than it could be. Because if you'd ask me, I'd say the best thing to go about it, because you could leave however long of a message as you want, because like I said, 2 sentences was enough for you know what I just explained. And I think a lot of times the focus doesn't need to be on you're demotivated. It's like get motivated, because that's typically how it goes. It doesn't literally say stop being demotivated, although sometimes people are like that, which is nothing wrong with, again. But I think the focus needs to be less so about them being motivated, and I think the focus when you send those types of messages needs to be on how good they are. And this doesn't just go for when they're demotivated. I think you should say these things just, whenever you see some reminder about it. Like, for example, someone who's into art, if you see them post some piece of art on like a social media, or they show you, just saying something as simple as just, that's good. Something as simple as that can completely give someone a boost of, motivation and energy and enthusiasm for whatever they might want to do. And there's criticism's always a good thing, and this is a tricky subject, sort of, when it comes to these types of things. It's always a very tricky subject, because criticism, it's a very subjective thing, not in the way that just in the way that some people will take it super well and be very open to it and be like, wow, good job, and it won't affect them at all, while others will take it as like harassment to them and will be a complete dick about it and completely come after your throat for it. And then there will be people where it completely shuts them down and makes them feel demotivated. So it's like and there's obviously other ways to people react to it, but that's generally how it goes from what I've seen. And it's kind of like a minefield, and I think a lot of it can lie in how you phrase it, because I've seen it in every sort of way, where someone's super polite and they'll take it a terrible way, or someone's really rude and they'll take it in a super nice way. It really, like, this all really just comes into people and themselves, because this is not like, it's a very tricky subject. Like, anything about mental whatever is subjective. Like, apologizing to someone, other people are going to take it differently. It's just generally more consistent. And with criticism about something someone likes, it can go, it's a lot much more of a minefield of just emotion and how was someone going to react. But I think generally, in the case of from a friend's perspective, if it's from a friend, I feel like they'll definitely be more open to the idea, but I still think a lot of it lies within you, as the person saying said thing, because you could phrase it very poorly and it could just sound rude or disrespectful. Like, for example, if you just, even as a joke, saying like you're bad or that's not good, like, even as a joke, depending on how your tone is, or just simple things like that, it could completely change the tone of it, and it could completely change the person's reaction and just completely shut them down. If it's bad enough, it could mess with them a lot. That's why I think, to all of you, I think the best thing is to always look at how you say it, because your own words, I think, really, at the end of the day, most of it comes within yourself to both get you motivated and to motivate others. Because, if you just say straight up something without thinking about how you're saying it, you could be going a really bad way if you're not thinking about it, if you know what my gist is. And I think generally, especially when it comes to your friends, you should always be mindful with your phrasing and polite, especially when, again, jumping back to it, criticism. This is where all this lies, because, something someone is passionate about, they're going to need criticism on it. um, like, I'm trying to think of an example. You should always see, like, for example, you say someone is an artist and, there's something a little bit off about, like, the shape of a character's head, for example, I guess. Generally, I'd say the best sort of way to go about that would be to, point it out, but not in a way that's like, I'm trying to think of a way of how I'd phrase it. A way that's polite is really, at the end of the day, what I'm saying. In a way that doesn't make it seem like you're pointing it out as a way to poke fun at them or mock them or, that type of deal. But you say, for example, the head shape, I find, is a bit, unusual or odd or off. And you could, you say how they could change it up next time. But I think this is really important. This is like a really important part. At the end, you want to point out that it's still good and they're still doing a good job. And to motivate them to keep going at the end, because, if you're saying, this is good, but this, and you end it off pointing out the bad things, it's sort of like, this obviously all depends on the person, but generally I think they'll focus more about the end part. They'll say, like, they thought it was, this is like from somebody else's perspective, they'll say, oh, they thought it was good, but then they saw this and didn't think so. Like, that's the type of process I'm thinking, thought process, where they're like, you think it's good, but now you think it's bad, and they'll think about that, depending on the person. Obviously, there could, like I've said time and time again, it all varies. It's all subjective, because, we're people. And so I think that's why you should always point it out towards the beginning, say how they can change it, and then reassure them by saying it's still good, keep going, something like that. I feel like having that would be like, they'll look at it and be like, yeah, I did mess up, and it's not perfect, but, at the end of the day, nobody's perfect at anything. There's very little things that someone can be perfect at. And, having that realization, I think, helps people. Because I'm guilty of this too. People will often have this way of thinking for a period of time where they're like, they need to be like, they'll have their standards way too high for themselves. And then, having that realization can be really, demotivating. That they aren't perfect, or they're below what they see themselves as. And it's always very tricky, and that's why I think it's always really healthy to look at, if you're the person with said interest or whatever, always look at where your faults lie and, focus on those. Focus on improving those particular things you're not very good at, so that you can get better. And, generally, over time, you work on one thing, you work on another, you just improve one thing at a time, and, going that way about it, you'll have a much, you'll be much better at it than if you try to focus on every little thing at once, and because, it's kind of just a recipe for more mistakes and such. And that's why I say you should also, when you are criticizing someone, you want to point out what it is specifically in a polite way and give advice on how to fix that, especially if you're more knowledgeable about what it is. And then end it off by saying it's still good, and I believe in you, that type of stuff. Because people will latch on to those types of words. Am I getting my ideas across? I feel like I'm repeating myself, or being a broken record here, But, I want my ideas to be projected and, such. But yeah. It's all very interesting. So, a lot of it lies within yourself, but a lot of it lies within what other people say, because, there will always be those people that just completely get screwed over by almost everybody around them. Like, their family will, belittle what they're into, will belittle their interests, or, that type of thing, and, their friends, or quote unquote, or, just bullies, that type of deal. It could be anyone, and there will always be those people that just get screwed over more than others. And I definitely think that can influence their reactions on things. Like, they might take criticism more harshly because they're used to backlash from other people, Or it could be the opposite way, where everybody's very supportive, so they might take criticism very kindly. Or it could go the exact opposite, because if someone's very used to being praised, they could see criticism, no matter how polite it is, as a sort of insult when it isn't. And that's what I think is always important to look at, is, why someone thinks the way they do. If you criticize someone and they're just an ass, I don't think a lot of people, and, it is reasonable, I can definitely see why people do this. A lot of people just jump straight to they're a bad quality person for lashing out over this, but, oftentimes, and this goes for almost anything, but, just in this specific case, specific subject, it's always great to look at why the person acts the way they do about a specific thing, before judging. You aren't a bad person if you have that sort of behavior, but I think you really only start to be defined as a bad person if you have people tell you those things, you acknowledge it. Like, if someone says you're rude, and you say, I am rude, and use that as an excuse to be rude, that's when you're a bad person. Like, when you make no effort and actively use it as an excuse and know that is a quality of you. That's what makes you a bad person. But, and I just want to mention this because this goes for everything. I mention this a lot, but it's something I really love saying. It's something I sort of live by. Is, when it comes to these things, like, for example, like I was saying, where someone's rude when it comes to criticism towards them, they'll take it as an insult, and if they're rude back, that type of stuff. If someone is told, how they're being, and they actually want to change it, 90% of cases, no matter how, dumb it may seem, those, when people are trying to change their behaviors and stuff, because, it's sort of ingrained into your head, as dumb as it may seem, someone being rude about criticism. I mean, there's probably something that's happened before. There's probably things that's been, wait, I need to, what is this? There's probably things that's happened in their past to make them think that way, and, they will have that ingrained in their head, and they are bound, when they're trying to change that way, they're bound to fall back on what they're used to, if that makes sense. That type of deal. They are just bound to. That's why I say 90% of people will repeat their mistake once or twice, and it's always important to be accepting of that, and, that sort of deal. It's always important to. Okay. That was weird. Just got a random message. Whatever. But yeah. That's most of what I wanted to talk about. You know, I think, you know, you read the title, you'd probably think this would be a stream more so about, you know, you can do it, generic spiel. You know, how I think about really anything related, mental, whatever, is, you know, you hear so much of same old, like, you know, motivations like, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, blah, 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 blah. You kind of just get bored of it, and it, you know, it's not like it's bad, but you're so used to it, it really doesn't affect you. And so I try to go a different way about it because I think it's more effective, and especially getting into the roots of everything and trying to look for, you know, these solutions to the problems, I think is the best way of it. Yeah. Anyone in the chat have, like, questions or their own problems? That's sort of... What? What is this? Okay. I just got a random call. What is this? Okay, this is bizarre. Okay, I'm gonna change this. Yeah. Okay, this is bizarre. You can probably read it on my face. Enjoying you talking about stuff. Well, I'm glad. Okay, this is... I don't know, I'm so, like, messed up in the head. Getting random messages automatically makes me assume bad things. So now my... you know... What? Okay, I'm stranged. I'm stranged out. No, it's not. I just got a weird message. An odd message. I don't want to say weird because, you know, I don't want to seem like I'm insulting somebody, but... I'm just... Wow. Okay, that kind of just jumped in my head and occupied my brain there, but... Wow. Yeah. I really love doing the streams, and I also really love when, you know, chat comes to me with their problems. I don't like people having problems, obviously, but I like to try and give advice because I think it's not only good for the person, but for everybody who's in. Okay, what? This is literally just some bizarre troll. Yeah, I'm just gonna block this person. There's no way that's not somebody I know. Somehow, like, the timing and everything is just so odd. It just seems too... It seems too weird to not be somebody I know, just because of the nature of the messages, and I've seen that with other people I know. Like the you know, the old friends I had that, you know, aren't very of quality. Wait. Wait. Sorry, I've got to send a message. Alright, sorry. I don't know, I don't really entirely want to talk about it because, you know, it's just in the, you know, in the, under the circumstance that it is just some random person. You know, it's not like I'd be showing their account and all this jazz, but it still wouldn't sit right with me. It's just odd. It's really just odd. Like, it was just a random meme with something else, and then they said, what is it? All right. So I got something in DM from a friend of mine, someone watching, and it was about a tricky situation that they're in, and I understand it fully, but I kind of want to excuse me. I kind of want to, what is it? I kind of want to talk about what I do in the situation. I'm not going to give away every little detail, because it does sort of come back to what happened those months back, and you could go see all the stupid drama on my channel from a few months back. But that's generally what it's about, and it's about someone who was very close with pretty much the main person about it all, who just did all the drama and this stuff, and mentions, what is it, if this person would want to come back to them and make a genuine apology, and how they are scared about how they'll react to that person apologizing. And there's a mention of, it says, I know myself, I know my limits, and they've crossed every line, is what this says. And it says, I'm forgiving at the same time. But generally, if you're saying that to yourself, that you have borders, you have boundaries, you have lines, and that person has crossed all of them, I think it'd be better. I think the best thing would be is sort of a middle ground where you say, thank you for genuinely apologizing, but let's not talk. I think that'd really be the healthiest thing if you're saying that, because having really any connection with that person after all they've done, after they've crossed every line that you have, after they've done all that, I think really just being friends with them is kind of bound to go south some way down the line. And that sort of deal. So it's always great to, it's always good to apologize, but not always good to allow that person back into your life, especially close. Because I know that person, and it's very highly unlikely that they will ever come to apologize unless it's years down the line and they undergo a very big change of character. But even at that point, I think it's just, after everything that's happened, it's really just good to stay away, because that person has done a lot bad to you. So I think it's good to say, thank you so much for doing this, but we should really not keep contact. And that's really what I would suggest. So, it's one of the same people who, as I've talked about a lot of times, set up a fake apology just to basically just verbally harass me for no reason. Or I think verbally, not literally, because it was over text, but same sort of deal. It was just really pathetic. It's one of those same people. So, I mean, I don't know, but given hypothetically he does come back and try to genuinely apologize to me or them, or I think the best thing to say is, I'm glad you would genuinely do this after everything that's happened, but it's really best that things don't continue. That's my take on it. I'm sort of the same way. I mean, I kind of just want to talk about myself for a bit. in my own situation, because I was like, I was with, I've talked about this a lot too. I'm sure everybody, knows about it. But, me being with that person I've talked about so much, it's like, I just want to go off on a little bit tangent. This has nothing to do with what I was just going to say, but it's something I really struggle to understand. This applies to the drama I've been in recently. What is it? Because the start of it all these people come to my stream. Okay, no. I guess the really start would be, what is it? It would be, I'm trying to think of it exactly. I sent a message to this person after being told not to, and, it's genuinely sort of a mistake, but it was really the only time I got mean with that person, because, the amount of stuff I was, put through for months on end was unreal. It was unbearable. And I've talked about this before. Someone can take so much before they just snap. And, it's not, I don't think it was 100% okay with me, but I don't think it was 100% not okay. I think it was, I think it was understandable once you know all the context. But it still doesn't make it 100% okay. I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, that was just the good thing to do. But I'm aware it doesn't make me a bad person at the end of the day. And I don't know, I just have these, it's kind of just cringe regrets. Like, I remember when I was with that person and they first left me. It's just kind of depressing because, Discord being dummy. Do you want to send me a message? Is that why you're saying that? But, person leaves me and it's kind of just like, kind of just sad. And kind of dumb. Wait. Alright, I just need to check that. What are you talking about? Are you talking about, like, me saying I, like, cringe regrets and that sort of stuff? Or is it something else? Yeah, I just want to say, it's just some cringe moments. A person leaves me and I'm like, what is it? I'm like, damn. It's hard to get over that. And later I realized I'm grateful that happened because it was hell, really. And I remember things went on and I was just sad about it. I was messed up for like 2-3 weeks. It wasn't like a long time, but it was not very quick. And I remember I visited a friend for a bit, and I went back home and it was like sunset, and it made me so emotional. It made me so upset. It's like, I messaged that friend. I was like, could you tell, person I was with, that like this reminded me of her? And it was like, it's cringe. Like, that's completely beside any point. It's just something I needed to say because it was bothering me. It was just kind of cringe. And it's just super clearly not like, what is it? I can't remember the response the person had to it. It was like, you're just in the way where it's like kind of getting mad at me. It was really just yikes. It was a big yikes. I just need to mention that. It is so cringe. That's completely beside any point. But yeah. And then you fast forward a few months. And what is it? I still feel really bad about this. This is something I feel really bad about to this day. I was talking to this other girl. We talked for a very short amount of time. Like, I could count the amount of times we talked on like one hand. And then she's like, wow, because we got in this really, really deep conversation. and we just sort of discovered a lot about each other, and we just sort of clicked. And she's like, you know, see if we can make, you know, us being together work. And I'm like, what did I say? I said, I don't mind if you want to. And, you know, we probably weren't together for more than like a week or two, because, you know, I sort of realized, okay, this is going too fast. I kind of need to learn, you know this person better before jumping into this. And so I'm like, because, you know, it was super difficult and like awkward for me to do. It was so painful for me to do, and but I'm not the type to just lead someone on because it's inconvenient for me to, what is it? It's inconvenient for me to, like, say, okay, this is going too fast. Yeah, it was really, really bizarre. And so, we're together for a little bit, and I just want to, like, spiel a little bit about this. So, me and that person were together, like I said, maybe a week at that, like 2 weeks max. It was a very short time period, and then I was like, okay, look, I'm not gonna lead you on, that's wrong. Cause, you know, and I just want to, like, just spiel about this, because it was like, being with that person for just that, not even like a month, very, very short time, was literally, I got more everything good. More love, more care, more just appreciation, everything. Like, everything was just 10 times better than being with the other person. Like, literally one day I probably got more sweet things said and love and all that than I got from being with the other person for, like, the entire time. It was, like, there were some moments, okay, no, maybe not, but, like, not one day, but during the whole thing generally, like, it was so much just better. Like, there were nice parts of being with the other person before her, but it was, like, so few and far between where something nice would be said. Like, it was so rare. It was like the damn Sahara Desert. Voice crack. I mean, yeah. It was literally like the Sahara Desert. It was horrible. And, you know, just one day it's constant. It was all the time. It was so sweet and awesome. Yeah, I don't know. That's just sort of like a regret I have, because I feel bad, because that person was so nice, so everything good, and then I'm like, yeah, we're going too fast, and then, I don't know. It's kind of sad. Makes me feel bad. But yeah. I'm trying to think of other things, because, you know, I'm sort of done with my main point that I was talking about, but wait, what happened? Wait. Alright. Game stream when? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. If I do that, I'm gonna have to turn off the camera, just because I really don't have a way to do chat at all. No, they're not rude at all. We're not talking about anything. Like, right now, it's really just whatever time, because the main points are sort of done. Like, it wouldn't bother me if you asked that in the middle of, while I was telling my story, because, you know, it's not like the main focus, and even if it was, it'd be like, you know, it'd only be rude if I was, like, crying my eyes out and it was like a really just emotional time. Then it would be rude to ask. Joe Biden won. You know, Joe Biden won a while ago. That was like the 4th that was announced, right? Like, oh no, not the 4th, but like sometime in that week. I don't know, politics moment. Yeah, I don't know. Very strange. Yeah, I don't know. Excuse me. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, wait. I'm gonna see. I gotta see this. I'm sorry. I have to real quick. I'm way too curious. I just have a weird feeling about this. Because I just got random messages, and then the person started randomly calling. And, like, it just kind of gives me a weird feeling. Because that's such a... Especially because the behavior is so familiar. That it really just gives me a strange feeling. I'm curious. Yeah, that's strange. I will not send you that link. But yeah. Yeah, I really have no other topics. I might end the stream or something. I'm not entirely sure. Unless anyone's got questions or subjects or, like, you know, questions for me about any subjects or advice on anything, that type of deal. If there's none of that, then I might just end it. God, that's so strange. Okay. How to Alt F4, just press your Alt and F4 key. I'll give it a minute. If there's nothing coming in, then I'm just end it. No questions? Alright. So strange. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm in the stream. Actually, oh, yes. Ask away. Go for it. Ask away, sir. Okay, dude. Is it, like, do you not, yeah, do you have an actual question, or is it just, like, jokes? Is it just trolls? Damn it. Alright, yeah. I'm ending the stream unless there's any, like, genuine questions. I'm ending the stream. So, I'm gonna just wrap up. Yeah, thanks everyone for checking in. I hope there was something here that was interesting, at least. And, yep. I'll catch you all later. See ya.